public comment. We'll have 3 minutes for each person that would like to address the committee chair for public comment. Going twice? 3 times? Okay. Next item on our agenda would be the approval. May I receive a motion for approval of today's agenda? So move.
Support.
We have motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Doug had his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Doug.
We've already closed it. I just had a question on the Vermont Systems Rec Track
Okay.
that was tabled to this meeting. Is that
That's the Parks software?
right? Exactly.
Okay.
Have an update on it. I mean, I understand we just approved the agenda, but
Sure. Is there a friendly amendment?
no, I just don't know if Parks was ready. I mean, it was tabled to this agenda and I just didn't see it. So I don't know if it's not ready or there's a
So-
reason why it's not here.
We are still working with Corporation Counsel and our vendor, Vermont Systems, on finalizing the agreement. So we have a call later this week with them. So
Okay.
we'll bring it forward in September.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. All right. Next item is the consent resolutions that contains the minutes from the July 18 Planning and Policy Committee. Can I have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve the consent resolutions.
Support.
Motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, moving on to the action items for today. The first item, the Ottawa Sands Day Use Restroom Grant Agreement. The suggested motion would be to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners the grant agreement from the Land Water Conservation Fund for assistance to complete the Ottawa Sands Day Use Restroom Project in the city of Ferrysburg. May I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, motion and support. I see we have both Kurt Tarhar and Jason Shamlin from Parks with us. Looks like Kurt will be taking this one. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, we have been working steadily on the improvements to Ottawa Sands, public use improvements. We're calling all of these phase 1 because they're the initial improvements since we've done the master plan. Few projects have already come through this committee in regards to the Item Explorers Camp, but all along we wanted to do some things in addition to that not just for overnight guests, but for the regular park visitors to the park. So we've worked hard to find additional funding for that. The 2 main things we're working on is a modern restroom for day use visitors, so close to the entrance, and then a paved trail around the lake, which is obviously everybody likes to walk around the lake if you've been out there, but it's a difficult hike. So those 2 things are we're really working on. We applied for grants from the state for both of those projects and we have been recommended. So this is the grant for the restroom building. It's actually federal funds, but funneled through the state of Michigan. So we apply the same way and it would fund half of the restroom building. So this would be a great project. The sooner we get it approved, the sooner we can actually get building it. So like to see it approved as soon as we can.
Okay, thank you, Kurt. Is there questions?
Yep. Kurt, is the park open for use while you're doing the construction?
You know, it has been to this point.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, you can't park right there off
Sure.
the main drive like you could before, but you
So
can
you're
park
parking
across
at
the street
Coast Guard.
and walk in. So we're going to maintain that as long as we can, as long as we think it's safe and we can accommodate that. There is a chance that we would close it down at some point if it just becomes too complex to control the
And how
public.
far are you on the trail?
How far are we on the trail, the loop
Yeah.
trail?
Yeah.
That's a little bit behind this one, actually, the grant
Okay.
agreement
All
for
right. So
that.
it's not started yet.
No, it's not started.
Okay. All right.
So I'm hoping maybe we can bid it this fall and build it next year if things go well, but it's not for sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Cosby?
So you're saying we have half the funds for this project and those are federal funds that have come in through the state.
Yeah.
Do you have plans then to acquire the other half of the funds?
Well, the other half is our funds that we already have secured, either through, we got a huge grant from a private foundation and we put some of our funds in together. So that's what this is.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So no hold up on the project.
No hold up.
Great.
Correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bonema?
Yeah. I've seen you on the news recently.
I did get on the news,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're getting famous these days. So no, I just want to thank you for doing that because it's really helping the public get to know our parks and what's available to them and places to go make some memories and the progress on this gift, and other projects you're working on. So I just want to thank you for making yourself available to the media for that.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, guess this item requires a roll call vote.
Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mrs. Curran,
Yes.
Ms. Cosby,
Yes.
Mr. Bonema,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mrs. Medema,
Yes.
Mrs. Ebel,
Yes.
Mr. Bergman,
Yes.
Mr. Belknap.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Okay, so at our last meeting, we made an approval to continue work on the septic and the sewer system for the Kirk Park. And now we're going to be looking at the park restroom itself. So item 2, Kirk Park reservations. There is a suggested motion to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners the bid from First Peninsula Contractors in the amount of $454,422 for the renovation of the Kirk Park restroom. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion. Second.
Okay, motion and support. I know our Parks team is representing today. I don't know if this was you again, Kurt?
Me again. So you stole my intro, right? Last time I was here with the septic system. This time a little more excited, renovation of the restroom building itself. So this includes, complete renovation of the existing restrooms, plus adding family restrooms, plus adding changing facilities, plus adding additional storage for our operations folks. So this restroom it's been 30 years since it's been renovated. It's older than that, actually. It was there when the original camp at Kirk Park was done. So it's needed renovation. Our operations staff has been asking me how long till we get a new roof on this thing because it leaks and all kinds of problems. So this is a really good project, and we're eager to get it done. It would start after Labor Day, and we would work through the winter, so it would be ready for the busy season next year.
Okay, are there any questions? Doug?
Yeah, just a quick question. So the 454 is totally covered, or there's a note here that says budget is 354?
Yeah, we've reallocated parks funds to take that. This is another grant funded project, but the grant funds are capped, so we're using.
And the 354 is the cap on the grant side, right?
The gap is about 100,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Kurt? Doug stole my questions, so.
Oh, there you go.
This motion also requires a roll call vote.
Ms. Cosby,
Yes.
Mr. Bergman,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Bonema,
Yes.
Mrs. Medema,
Yes.
Mrs. Curran,
Yes.
Mrs. Ebel,
Yes.
Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mr. Belknap.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Thank you, Kurt. Okay, moving along, the next item on the agenda. The motion would be to receive, this is for the 2024 to 2029 capital improvement plan. Suggested motion to receive for review the 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. Can I have a motion to receive this draft?
So moved.
Second.
All right. And I believe this is one that we look to our facilities or our fiscal services director, Karen Karasinski. Thank you for joining us today, Karen.
Morning.
Morning.
So I have a short presentation regarding the capital improvement plan and what we have done so far today up to this point. We're going to talk about what a capital improvement plan is, the team that has come together for the county and pulled together this plan, the goals that we set for ourselves this year, and then show you some trends before we dive into the actual plan. Okay, so a capital improvement plan lays out financing, location, timing for projects over several years. Generally, capital projects exceed $50,000 and do not repeat in the 5 years of the capital improvement plan. So think of roof, not car. I don't know, my clicker quit. No, could you forward it? Thank you. Currently, the team to review and make recommendations regarding projects is Blake Upright, Paul Sachs, Paul Klimas, and myself. Parks has a separate process to manage millage funds. Once they've completed their project plan and it's been approved by the Parks Commission, it's consolidated with county projects to create one plan for the county. This year, we set some of the following goals. I'll share more details about, sorry. I'll share more details in a few slides, but we wanted to set an annual amount dedicated to capital projects. So we wanted to build that into the plan. The team also supports the use of asset management tools, especially in facilities to allow data-driven decisions. We want the project submission process to be updated, so project requests are reviewed in a comprehensive way. During fiscal year 24, facilities and the team want to review building systems and standards, including ADA requirements, to create an action plan for future years. The parks projects, so this is a history of parks projects as approved by fiscal year. Parks projects are aligned with their master plan and millage funding. It's not working again. Just for a little background, the county has only had a capital improvement plan since fiscal year 15. The history of projects are here on the screen by fiscal year. The committee has approach to a smoother, or would like approach to a smoother projects with the goal of being more proactive and less reactive. So some of that drives back to the funding. We kind of do projects as we can afford to do them. So if you look at the funding history, the dark orange is one-time funding that has been allocated since 2015 to the capital projects. If you look at the light orange, that's been the annual contribution from the general fund. So as you can see, if we have excess fund balance in the general fund, the board may have committed that to projects. Well, we don't always have it, so it doesn't always get committed. So therefore, the project funding has to follow with the funds that are available. The proposed funding moving forward is, again, the light orange is the general fund annual contribution. And in fiscal year 22, there was a one-time contribution made from excess general fund balance above policy. So in 23, you see that what we're currently proposing of the 2.4 million from the general fund, and then really using the $5 million of ARPA revenue replacement savings to smooth out as growth comes until we can in 2029 start having that annual $5 million contribution. The capital improvement plan is in your packet and includes funding projects and includes all projects, including those that are currently funded, as well as new projects for 24 through 29. Currently, the fiscal year 24 column is in the proposed budget. So any changes to this document would potentially change the proposed budget. Are there any questions that I can answer at this time? And I believe the CIP team is here with me.
Commissioner Rhodey?
So not so much a question, but I really appreciate this presentation. I'm just wondering if you can email that out to us as well, just for future reference.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. Wondering how the asset management tools might impact this plan or future adjustments to the plan, or will it?
I believe it will. I think Blake is the best one to answer that.
The asset management tools that we have, when we get all of our data compiled this year and put it in, we'll be able to forecast a curve. If you kind of look at the bar graph that Karen put together, you have up to about 2020, somewhat of an erratic low year, high year, low year, high year. It wasn't smooth like it should be in the replacement of assets. So with that, we're trying to get into that more proactive. So we'll take and we'll compile all of our data and all of our assets. Our mapping tool will be able to predict kind of that sweet spot of fix or replace equipment, so you don't end up with big lags in time on equipment that just really can't be down, is what we're trying to avoid.
Is it possible you might find more that needs to be added to this, and
Yes.
then the plan will have to be shifted or adjusted?
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Typically in an asset plan or a capital management plan, about every 12 to 18 years, depending on your infrastructure, if you fund it at let's say hypothetically, a $2 to $3 million every year to maintain, every about 12 to 18 years, somewhere in there, you're going to have 2 years that spikes real high. So going with that 5 million, we're trying to bring that hill down so that we can avoid a $12 million year, hypothetically. So that's what we're trying to smooth out, is that curve just a little bit.
Thanks.
Commissioner Zylstra?
Yeah, thanks. Could we go back to the bar graph slide?
Okay, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, so the first point talks about establishing and adhering to an annual cap budget allowance. And that's what I see, that 5 million is the cap. So for example, 2024, the idea is still to put 5 million from ARPA funds, and then maybe put, I don't know, 3 million of general fund along with that. Is that how that cap works?
Yes, so
Is that accept
in the
expenditure or
in the
cap revenue?
proposed, right, in the proposed budget, the 24 budget, there is a contribution from the general fund for $3 million.
Right.
That is up from last year, 2.4 million. So some of that has been revenue growth that has been dedicated to this effort. And then the red is some of that dark orange in 22 is access. So there's fund balance in the capital projects fund. So that pink section is the fund balance that we're dedicating. The blue all the way across basically is the funds that were committed from ARPA that have been in the 24 proposed budget are proposed to be transferred into the fund. And then those will be used in fiscal year 24, that blue line through 28 to get at the 5 million today. And then until the growth catches up, hopefully.
So the 5 million transfer from ARPA CIP would happen over time, or would that happen in this fiscal year?
It's in the fiscal year 24 proposed budget.
Okay, so at the excess, it looks like there's like, what, 3.5 million left over would go into the fund balance at that point. Do I have that right?
Yeah, so it's in 24, it's a 1.5 million.
Right.
The blue is 1.5 million. In 25, it's 1,250,000, then 1,750,500.
So you'll just be pulling that every year into, to hit the 5 million every
What
year.
would become part of the fund balance once it's
Okay.
transferred in,
Okay.
but conceptually.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ebel?
So when we get to the fiscal year 29 and plus, I notice all of it is in orange. So those funds are going to be coming from,
So that is a transfer from the general fund to support projects and infrastructure for the county.
and then going forward, it's only going to be from the general fund. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Not unless we get another ARPA, right? Okay, thank you.
What else? Commissioner Rhodey?
I'm looking here and I might just not be seeing it, but wondering, if we have, the ADA compliance beginning to be worked into fiscal year 2024, or if we're still in that assessment process. If you could just give us an update on that.
Sure. So the team, we did talk about ADA and it has definitely been a goal. At this point, we don't have a plan.
Okay.
So we have it as a category, we have it, but obviously, if we're not showing anything, we just remove that section. But I would think that next year at this time, our goal is to lay that out in a plan along with some other building, internal building components that are also under review.
Okay. Just one more follow-up question on that. Are there any pressing major needs as far as ADA compliance that we should be considering for fiscal year 24?
On the ADA side of the world, what we're looking at is when we go through and we'll do an assessment of all the buildings. We're actually started on that now, trying to get ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
We'll create a plan of action. We'll also create a funding plan so that if the state were ever to come in and say, hey, this building doesn't have automatic doors on the front, we show them a corrective plan of action. They allow us time. They understand that the funding isn't always just sitting ready to update old buildings. But what we're going to do is we'll prioritize. Certain buildings probably see more need for it than other buildings that we have. So those will be our highest priority. And if we go down to, let's say, a CMH or a public health building and find, wow, we really got to address this quick, we intend to address it quick. We'll figure out a way mid-year to find a move, change something to address it.
Okay, so along those lines, looking at the proposed funding over future years. Say for instance, we have, things planned out to handle in fiscal year 24, and they're not all inclusive of ADA compliance items, and we find some important things. Are we then able to pull some of the ARPA portion out of 25 to more immediately address those items if necessary?
We would absolutely be able, you would actually absolutely have to do that. We
Okay.
would bring that forward.
Okay, because those funds would be there set aside already for capital improvement projects. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Cosby?
Just quick question too. So 2015, we started capital improvement plan. So prior to that, you never had kind of capital budgeting. Is that correct?
Fiscal year 2015 was the first year that I did the budget for the county. So that was when we implemented. Prior to that, there was not a formal CIP. I believe there was capital planning, but it wasn't in a formal capital improvement plan.
Okay. And so the baseline of $5 million, was that set then at that time, or how did we come up with that number?
No, this has really been an effort of over time. So, planning is something that takes time for people, and we need to work really closely with the facilities department and others to make sure that they're bringing forward projects or planning for those future that future. So I would say in the beginning, we probably weren't very good at it. Putting things out a few years and thinking ahead. We tended to be more reactive, especially in the beginning. And so working with the team this year, we just continued that same goal and that same philosophy, only I think we have the right team, we have the right changes in the facilities department to allow that to move forward in a positive way.
Wonderful.
Because I actually think, and based on the data early on, I was thinking, maybe it was 3.5 million. But looking at the projects that are coming in and the need in the facilities, the team has reviewed that and had conversations and set that 5 million as the target.
Would you look at historical data as
Yes.
well?
Mhm.
What spend was great. Looking forward to this.
Mr. Chair.
Part of the
Commissioner Bergman?
So I don't see the body cameras in here. It's not part of the capital improvement plan.
The body cameras are currently funded.
Okay.
It's so they are in the plan as a currently funded item.
Okay, I didn't see it in here, but
Let me see if I can find them.
I thought I had seen them earlier, but I can't find it now. But if you say they're in here, that's fine.
There are, I can find them for
Okay,
you.
all right, that's all right.
I think it's on the top of page 4, under the information technology. First one, public safety, digital media, capital cost of vehicle and body cameras.
That you're absolutely correct.
Thanks.
Mr. Bottom?
Yeah, so as we're looking at the proposed funding, obviously, we don't know exactly what the revenue is going to be until we're there, right? Because it's moving around. So what gives as far as, the other accounts? So if it comes in low, where's that gap made up? If it comes in higher than expected, which one is, what gives as it moves?
Right. So the plan or the goal, the desire is that the growth in the tax base would, a certain portion of that growth would continue to be allocated to this initiative. So similar to how you see 22 was a little bit less than 23 in the light orange, and then 23 is a little less than 24. So just taking a portion of that growth from the tax base in the general fund and committing it to capital projects.
So if we have higher than estimated general fund, returns that comes back, then we use less of the ARPA reserves, right? Would it be reallocated elsewhere back to the general fund? Where does the money go if it ends up coming in
I
higher
guess
than expected?
that's really an annual decision during the budget process. So if the revenue is more or less, it would depend on how the outcome of some of those projects that we're putting together in 24 and the need in the buildings.
So if it comes in less, if we have a downturn in the economy, then we're looking back to the general fund to make up the difference, or we possibly just lower our expectations for what we're going to spend money on?
It's yes, one or the other.
One or the other. Yeah. Okay.
And I guess it would, really waiting for that data and the numbers to make that
Adjust.
present that decision and recommendation about how to move forward.
Okay. But the ARPA money will be spent as needed now to be put into the fund. So it's there in this account.
Correct. It would be held in this fund.
Okay.
Friend.
So Karen, there's certainly going to be blips. And there's certainly going to be times when you perhaps won't spend all 5 million, so it could be carried over the next year or whatever, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's the plan is to smooth it out, but you're going to still have blips.
This is a separate fund, so we manage it, and projects, I should just mention, are adopted for the life of the project. So frequently, once a project is appropriated, it may take 1.5 years to complete that project from beginning to end. So when you look at actual expenditures, moving forward, you'll still see ups and downs based on when the actual expenses occurred.
Thank you.
And as I understand, Karen, there's a prioritization plan in place for projects. So you would make a determination if you had less funds than what you anticipated. You would prioritize what would come first, correct?
That's part of the team's
Yeah.
responsibility is to come and make that recommendation to you.
And then the surplus from the general fund in the past has gone to these capital projects.
Some of the general fund surplus has gone to capital projects.
Commissioner Rhodey?
I am just wondering, what is the age of some of our buildings? Because is part of the issue with the increasing need for capital improvement funds, the fact that our buildings are getting a little bit older and just need some more maintenance?
I can probably answer better. My sense is yes, that when we looked at that history of capital funding, when I first started, there was a lot of new buildings that were hitting that age where maintenance and wear was starting to come. So we needed to change our focus to building new to maintaining what we have. But like, as for the actual years.
Okay.
You are correct. Well, like the jail, the original build of the jail and detention center, probate area, which obviously we're building a new courthouse, so we'll be remodeling that at some point. Those are all original with original equipment in them. Air handlers, like the supply chain is also kind of driving some of this data on how quickly we can get things versus, maybe 3 years ago, you'd run it to fail because you could get it within a week. Whereas now, certain things we're not going to run to fail, because if that's the case, it could be 6 months before you get one. So we have to kind of balance all that in our data and observations. And between probably 2003 and 2010, the county built Holland District Court, Grand Haven Courthouse, put on Region 4 to the jail, put on C Wing here. So half of this build, a lot of stuff was brand new. And as you get into that 15 to 20 year window is when you start having to really look at that run to fail versus replace cost differential. What is the cost of loss? It's a difference in, if we lose an air handler in C Wing, the world taught us we can work from home for some things. If we lose an air handler at the jail, they don't get to work from home. So it's a different cost of loss depending on the use of the building. And those are all the things that we're going to explore and try to put answers to in our data.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Mr. Bonner?
Last year, and this might be a Blake question, but I toured the New Family Justice Center and we talked about their backup power systems over there. And we were talking about how they accidentally cut the cable over here and the jail went dark and this room went dark. And have we addressed that over here where we have a better backup system now?
No,
We're
working on it. This building, we have a backup generator. It does not run our entire building. It only runs critical function in certain areas. The jail runs pretty much enough to stay running. It's not 100% of everything.
Was it dark? They said the jail went dark inside. That sounds like a safety issue.
It did.
Yeah.
Because there's a lag on the generators. When it was cut that quick,
Okay.
it blew some things in the cabinet outside the jail. So even though the generators kicked on, they couldn't provide power. We had to get into the cabinets to actually flip the switch, the transformer cabinet out here at Fillmore. So that did happen. The way our power comes into here is it's a circle. So that when that was hit, we got a hold of, actually it was Bice Electric that was there, came over, we reversed the power feed in the transformers so that we were able to backfeed this building
From the other side.
Yeah. So things in here are in a loop, but we are generator deficient, kind of throughout the county. Everything was built to a minimum. Hudsonville, I don't know why over there exactly, but the power really fluctuates. We lose power a lot, but we have no generator there. So it's Holland District Court. There wasn't room on the site to put a generator. So it's how do we start addressing those gaps as well? We'll be in this year. The planning to to fund those. This building, we need to upgrade the size of the generator, which means probably moving it, new switch gear, but we need to be able to run the building. Then it'll come down to a decision for planning and fiscal and the board of here's what it costs if you want power. Here's what it costs to send everybody home and shut the county down. So you'll get to make those decisions.
All right. Thank you.
That's a good question. Thank you for that, because it's, Blake, I never want to be in your shoes when the power goes out or when the lights go out, but I'm grateful that, you know, these things do happen that we learn from, so that, you know, as we budget and plan ahead, okay, what failed and how do we sort of, you know, prevent that next time. So appreciate asset management coming into play and maybe helping some of that, but a lot of it too is just, you know, surviving and learning, you know, learn from these issues that take place. So
It's kind of a funny story. When I first came here, John Shea told me we rarely lose power. Okay. I think we lost power 4 times the first summer I was here. And it's been the same way ever since. Now, with that, Lou Hunt, the OC director, he has worked tirelessly to get consumers somewhat malleable to help us. You know, I actually have an appointment with our rep Thursday. We're the end of the line. So with all the building that's going on at the substation and the subdivisions, it's kind of interesting. We put power metering on at the jail with all of our 3-phase in here. And as the temperature climbs and everybody turns their AC down, 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 we can watch our power down, down, down at the jail. So we've worked really hard with consumers' energy, because if you lose, you know, you're not getting clean power, all of our motors and everything tend to burn out. That happened the first year. Why are these continuing to burn out? Well, we started metering and monitoring and working with consumers, and knock on wood, we haven't done that since then. But nobody was telling them either. So it's kind of a relationship with the power companies. You know, we don't have that kind of problem in Holland or Grand Haven, but we do here at this because we're the end of the line. So.
Commissioner Bergman?
Blake, just an update, where are we with the entry scanners?
Entry scanners.
Yeah, the scanners, you know, coming.
Oh, badge scanners.
Yeah.
The card access. The
Yes.
originals are all replaced countywide, except for. So they're not all. Let me rephrase that. 99%. Inside some of our elevators with the phone lines and different things for emergency dial out, we haven't got those changed yet in secure elevators in like courthouses. So those are still working on getting changed. Once those get changed, we'll be rolling into phase 2, which will be the new cables and everything are all pulled up above ceilings. We'll start cutting into door frames. I hope by October, we have a lot of phase 2 done. And then we can move forward from there with where does SEPTED want to see the rest of the program go.
Thank you.
Commissioner Miedema?
I was just looking again at the capital improvement plan on here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you kind of allocated the hopes for each year up through, I think what we can see is through 2027, nope, through 2029. And then you can relook at that if needed as you go, right? And you're looking at trying to do as a need basis, not based on want, but the need for capital improvement.
Correct. I
Yeah.
think historically, Karen can correct me if I'm wrong. Facilities, I mean, our CIP is a little different because there are other things in there that aren't necessarily a roof, windows, doors. But facilities should have been a bigger part of helping drive this model over the years. Now we're trying to achieve that. So it should be, you know, in a perfect world, Commissioner Bonham, I asked about it. Maybe we don't need that 5 million. Once we get to a certain point and we get all the data out there, maybe we don't need that. But we can't say yet. So we're trying to plan for worst case.
Just appreciative of the team effort that you guys have been working on. So
It's been a fun year this year on CIP.
Me too.
So my questions for Karen, our next steps on this, I understand that the intention with the schedule is that our commissioners are able to have some time with this list. And if we have questions, should we direct them to you and the team?
Correct. So I can coordinate those responses and get the information back from the team for you.
Okay. And I also understand that not adopting this today, but this comes back to this committee in a special meeting next week. Is that correct?
That is my understanding of the timeline that was laid out.
Okay. Just so we all are aware, this is Tuesday, August 8th. Scheduled for noon to review this and more questions and hopefully adopt a list.
That would be great. Once then it would be passed on, assuming we passed on to the full board, they would approve it. And then the proposed budget for the county, not the capital piece is fiscal year 24. So, as you review it, any changes there would drive potential changes in what we've proposed in the budget as well.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just to clarify, you're proposing next Tuesday after the morning board meeting to have a planning and policy to approve this.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Lucy.
I've had a couple of constituents ask me about the ADA compliance. They are asking, I know we're looking at this now, but can you give us an explanation as to why it wasn't looked at before, or because all the buildings were new, or? So I guess they just want a better explanation about why this ADA compliance issue was not looked at in prior years, I guess. Maybe you can help us with that, understand.
Certain things have been addressed. Other things like, let's say, ADA compliant bathrooms. The stall, the partition furniture has to be of a certain size out in front of the stool so that the door can close. You have room for your wheelchair and all that stuff. Those standards didn't exist at the time things were built. And it's the way the state kind of looks at ADA is, what is your plan? What are you doing? They understand the funding isn't always there. Historically, I can't explain why my department wasn't looking at it. We are now. Other things, the power door opener, 60% of your exterior doors have to be power opener. That actually they adopted that in 21, and I think they started enforcing it in 22. So it's pretty new on the powered openers. The old way is the restroom door. You used a force meter and you check to see how many pounds of force it took to open the door. Well, I don't know if you've ever sat in a wheelchair and tried to open a door. Even if it opens really easy, it's really awkward if you're sitting and can't push a button. Like it's just awkward. So there are things that we're doing, and there's things that we intend to do as I've talked to our Administrator Gibbs about is there's state minimums that you can get by with, like the door only requires so much force. What is the standard we want to set? We're free to set that standard higher if we choose to make it more accessible for our people. So.
Thank you. I did have a family member who was wheelchair bound, and he would always bring it to my attention. That doesn't work. That's not right. That needs improvement. So over the years, it was always reminding me of this and that. So I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Commissioner Zylstra?
Just a quick stupid question. What does CPTED stand for again? I know it looks like a lot of radio and cameras there, but there's probably some sort of technology, something.
Sure. It's crime prevention through environmental design.
There you go. That's right off the top of your tongue, right?
Yeah. We love acronyms. Okay, I believe at this point, we're just taking a vote to accept this list. This vote is not for adopting this list, but we did have a motion and a support to accept. And I believe we've got our path forward for our next steps. So all those in favor of receiving the capital improvement list, say aye.
I,
Those opposed? Okay, moving forward. Next item on the agenda, committee reports. I don't think we really have anything on this one to report at this time, so that moves us into our next round of public comment. Good morning.
Rebecca Patrick, Allendale Township. And I'm truly giving you this in the spirit of goodwill. Who made the decision to add a meeting to this committee, a special meeting? I mean, I didn't see the committee vote on it. And the reason I bring it up is that I think the Open Meetings Act implies that it should be by vote of the committee because it needs to be posted within 3 days of a decision by the committee to hold a special meeting. So just throwing that out there for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, I call this meeting adjourned.